our guest speaker, and I'd like to do that by telling you a little bit about the firm, and then we're big on videos. We have another short video to show you, and then we'll ask Jimmy to come forward and make some comments for you. For those of you who might not know, Sandler O'Neill & Partners is a full-service investment banking firm that is dedicated to serving financial services companies, which includes First Federal, fortunately. And they work with us and with other organizations in a variety of areas, including planning, mergers and acquisitions, stock conversions, equity research, sales, trading, investment securities, a variety of things. The firm has offices in New York, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, and about to be Atlanta, if I remember from last week. Sandler O'Neill has worked with First Federal in a number of ways, including our stock conversion in 1998. We have also issued trust preferred capital with them. They've worked with us on acquisitions, investment transactions, and because of that stock conversion in 1998, they were partners with us as we created our foundation, which is why it's so important that they be with us tonight. Prior to September 11th, 2001, Sandler O'Neill's headquarters were located on the 104th floor of 2 World Trade Center, and the firm had a total of 171 people in its offices nationwide. On September 11th, the firm lost 66 people, including 2 of the 3 people who ran the firm, Herman Sandler and Chris Quackenbush. Mr. Dunne, who had been the managing principal responsible for all aspects of the day-to-day operations, as he describes it, the inside guy, supervised the rapid recovery process of Sandler O'Neill and appointed 2 partners to operate the firm with him as principals. To date, Sandler has hired more than 90 people, and they are new people with them in a variety of business units. On January 22nd of 2002, the firm reinstituted their full market making operations in their new headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. We do have a short video to show you some of the media coverage of the firm's path since September of 2001. There have been several pieces done about, obviously, the tragedies of 2001, including some coverage on Sandler O'Neill. We've picked one piece that we thought might demonstrate what they have done since September 2001.
All right, we want to take some time to focus on some of the people of the Wall Street area. Investment bank Sandler O'Neill was one of the hardest hit firms on Wall Street on September the 11th. 66 of their 171 employees died in the World Trade Center offices that they inhabited on the 104th floor. When it looked like they could not go on, they did. Here's the amazing story of the people and the spirit of Sandler O'Neill.
I haven't hit 3 like that since September 10th.
Although it is still his passion, the game of golf for Sandler O'Neill's CEO Jimmy Dunne will never be the same. On September 11th of last year, Dunne was on a golf course, hoping to qualify for the U.S. Mid-Amateur Championship. The night before, his business partners, Chris Quackenbush and Herman Sandler, urged him to go.
Herman grabbed my arm and said, do me a favor. And I said, what? He said, don't call the office tomorrow morning. Whatever you do, don't worry about it. We're both going to be here. Nothing is going to happen.
Sandler O'Neill was located on the 104th floor of Tower 1 at the World Trade Center. When the building crumbled, 66 of its 171 employees were gone, including Dunne's mentor, Herman Sandler, and Chris Quackenbush, his closest friend.
There's no replacing Chris Quackenbush. When we grew up together, we were in tuition-paying painters, was our first business together. When we were in college, all major decisions that I ever made in my life, you know, Chris and I talked about. Herman Sandler worked at L.F. Rothschild. I started at L.F. Rothschild getting coffee for people in 1978. Super intellect, no ego. What a combination. I'm getting on this guy, and I'm not letting him go. One of the great things about Herman Sandler was he was completely unpetty. He did not have a petty bone in his body.
The two founded Sandler O'Neill with 4 others in 1988. A few months later, Quackenbush, a charismatic Wall Street dealmaker, came on board. The 3 were quite a team.
I was always sort of the hard guy, the Dr. No type, and I could really, you know, and it's also in my nature still that if something goes wrong, I am going to be very much in your face. And then they could soften that up a lot, both Herman and Chris.
But today it is Jimmy Dunne who has to work the room.
Thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
I think you could win the
ladies' long drive again today.
Right.
I put a lot of money on it.
How's your golf?
No, the golf game has not been. I've been working too hard.
I know that feeling.
Dunne is driven like never before to make Sandler a success. The firm, which specializes in M&A and corporate finance for small and mid-sized banks, has completed 59 deals so far this year, including 8 mergers. Dunne says it's good to be back in the game. On September 11th, Sandler lost its entire bond and syndicate desks, all but 2 of its equity traders and a third of its partners. With the help of several of their competitors, Sandler was up and running by September 17th. They set up temporary shop in these offices at Bank of America.
Hey, Rick, have you had a chance to take a look at those earnings?
Mark Fitzgibbon, who made it out of the World Trade Center, was among the Sandler survivors navigating uncharted territory.
Research wasn't as critical function on day one. We needed to jumpstart the firm. So we dispersed the research analysts into different areas, and myself and a couple of the analysts went to the syndicate area, and we became the syndicate department on day 2.
CFO May Della Pietro was at a doctor's appointment on the morning of the 11th. With every computer and scrap of paper gone, she set about rebuilding a financial history.
The first 6 to 8 weeks were spent, there was 5 of us that sat in one office, and we had 4 chairs. We just pretty much sat in that room from about 7:30 in the morning till midnight or later for weeks on end.
As Sandler O'Neill got back on its feet, it became clear that it needed a new home of its own. So Dunne took on another of his mentor's tasks, real estate.
I never looked at that before. That was all Herman Sandler, and he would basically insist that I go see it. Once, one time we were moving and we were looking at a destination. He told me all about this great space, and I said, I don't need to see it. He said, you have to go see it. I went to the wrong building, and I told him I went, it's fine. So that just tells you how little I knew about real estate.
But Dunne was a quick study. This 6th floor office in a nondescript midtown building felt just right. Fred Price, an original Sandler O'Neill partner, was at a Seattle conference on September 11th. Piece by piece, the COO replaced everything from computers to letterhead.
We owned nothing. We didn't own a desk, we didn't own a chair, we didn't own anything. In some ways it was better because we were able to move quickly because we needed to get everything. But it's harder too because you have to make some very, very kind of big decisions about networks, and you don't really have a lot of time to evaluate 20 different options.
Sandler got ready for the relaunching of its market-making activities.
I didn't want to have a false start, so we had all the technology people here, all the phone people, everybody in 2 or 3 deep.
But nevertheless,
the Monday before was a very real sleepless night for me.
On January 22nd, Sandler O'Neill traded 150 stocks on its first day in the new office. With only these 2 employees from the pre-9/11 days working on the equity desk, 18 new hires brought a renewed vitality. Bob Kleinert spent 19 years at Solomon before leaving the rat race to manage money, but something drew him here after that terrible day. He came as a volunteer and stayed.
If you looked at the people who are here today, it's a completely new firm, really, almost. I mean, it's 65 new people since, roughly November 1st when I've been here. It's very hard to tell the difference between the old people and the new people. The culture here has been tremendous.
But Mark Maltz, hired by Sandler to counsel its employees since September 12th, says there is a big difference. Time has dulled the pain for the survivors, but it's not gone.
I hear all the time, it's 10.5 months, it's a year, it's 9 months, it's 13, whatever the date is, right? How come this hasn't stopped? How come I'm still having nightmares? Why is this? And we know in the human condition that this is going to go on for a while. This is a normal psychological process that this could continue for 18 months, even longer.
While there are reminders throughout the new Sandler of the tragedy, there are also signs that the future is bright. The partners meet to discuss progress and the latest additions to the growing Sandler family.
Sometime between now and the end of the year, every one of us as partners needs to make sure we reach out and touch these people in one way. Introduce yourself.
The space Dunne once called cavernous is now full. Now they're starting construction to take over more of the floor, with Sandler now at 169 employees and plans to hire more.
The temporary wall will actually be put up on the current trading floor. We're going to have it soundproofed, but obviously no matter what we do, there's going to be a certain amount of dust and a certain amount of noise.
But that's all right with Jimmy Dunne, who says there's no uglier sound than a quiet trading floor.
I think more in terms of 10 years from now, and I think it would be really incredible that if born from that day, if you could have a real powerful firm and say, to think back on the 11th and to see that where that would come from, that'll be a big part of what we're trying to achieve here.
Well, one of the interesting things that Jimmy Dunne told me was that when he finally went home on the night of the 11th, he showered and put on a suit. He hadn't done that in a long time because he'd been a big proponent of casual, but he wanted everybody to know that he meant business, that he was serious, and that Sandler O'Neill was here to stay. I think that reflects the seriousness in a way that has returned to Wall Street on that day, and indeed, Ted, to our country to a certain extent.
Jimmy Dunne is just everything that's right with Wall Street, a real professional and a human being where his humanity comes first. Amazing. Lucky for the people who work for him.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here tonight. It's a great thrill. We have, the first thing I think we ought to talk about is why I'm here. And I was going to go through sort of who I am, but I think we've just covered that. So you all know kind of what we've done and why we're, who we are. But what I've tried to do since the 11th is quite simply, we've had some people that have just been incredible to us in terms of rebuilding our business and incredibly generous towards our foundation. And I have a very, very simple rule about getting involved in any kind of function because, as Lee pointed out, I am really more of an inside guy. I like to talk to clients. I like to talk to our people. And with good reason, in the old Sandler O'Neill, when Chris and Herman were on the executive committee, they, ironically enough, never permitted me to speak to the press. I never was allowed to make a comment. I certainly wasn't allowed to make a speech, but you're all about to find out why that was the case. And it was just a very simple way we've done it. Obviously, things have changed, and what I try to do right now is that people that have been incredibly valuable to us and kind to us and empathetic towards us, both towards our business and to our foundation, when they ask me to do something, I simply say yes, and I give it my best, and I hope for the best, and that's what we're doing here tonight. So I just want to start off by first congratulating the work that the foundation has done, the First Federal Foundation. I mean, it's incredible when you see that video, the depth of areas that they've been involved, the lives that they've affected, and I'm grateful especially, too, to the Sandler O'Neill Foundation, and I'm really grateful to Lee and her whole team because they were pretty indispensable to us right after the 11th. They, like a lot of our, like mostly, well, frankly, all of our clients and several of even our competitors did a lot to really, really make us feel like we could do this. So I've prepared a text here, and before I do these things, we have a very, very smart guy that's, his name's Larry Belinsky, and he used to write for Como and do all these things. So before he is very afraid whenever I get to a podium because there's no quite telling what will happen. So he gives me a very detailed text to deal from. And he really hopes that I don't change a syllable, but he's not here tonight. So I'm much to my son's chagrin and everybody else's, I'm gonna go on my own and I'll hope for the best here. But I was pretty moved by what I saw. But before I go, I'll tell one quick story so you put you a little bit at ease. I had given the commencement exercise at a college out in Long Island, a Catholic college out in Long Island. And I'd felt I had done a pretty good job. I felt I'd gotten a real good response from the students. I was happy with what I had to say. It seemed like the parents were happy with what I had to say, and I was feeling pretty good about it at the end. And it was nice enough, and a nun had come up to me afterwards and said that she actually taught me in high school, and my mother would be very proud. So I was ecstatic by that. And the next guy on the line was this sort of pipe-smoking guy. And he mentioned that he was a literature professor, an English professor at the college, and would he mind if he made a comment or two on my speech? So I'm fairly inflated at this point. The nun just told me how wonderful I was. I felt a little bulletproof. So I said, well, absolutely. And he said, well, Mr. Dunne, all great speeches are 6.5 minutes long. Yours was 14 minutes. I said, is that it? And he says, that's it. So I want someone right from this moment at the 6-minute mark, raise your hand, because I'm going to be wrapping up. But what I really want to talk about really is more, and it's really as a result of seeing that wonderful film on the charitable work that the foundation has done, is sort of three words when they come to charity, which I've almost sort of figured out tonight myself: relationship, leverage, and confidence. And those three things are absolutely integral if you're going to do any good in anything you do. And for far too long, I think, starting with Enron and ending with that cable company, which really isn't too far from here. I guess Adelphi can't be that far from here. I knew Regas, I knew his family. I'm saddened by the events of what happened there. It's incredible. But your relationships with people that you have in business, they're either improving or deteriorating. All your relationships in life, with your wife, with your husband, with your family, with your coworkers, with your community, every relationship that you have is in either an improving condition or a deteriorating condition. And if you're not nurturing it, if you're not taking care of it, if you think it's staying the same, I'm going to tell you, you're wrong. It's deteriorating. And far too long, in a little bit in our whole country, and I don't mean to be too outspoken about it, we have associated that businesses cannot do, and it's not their responsibility to perform really important acts for the community. And if you watch that video and you meet the people tonight and you see all the things that First Fed is doing, you can see just how powerful the impact that a business well run by honest people with character that are concerned about giving back to their community, the effect that they can have. I mean, it is incredible. It leads then to the next point, which is leverage. Lee mentioned a little bit in her comments earlier about the foundation, which Tom Duke, my partner who you met, had something to do with working with First Federal with the concept. In fact, I think we actually initiated originally with one of the first conversions that we've done, where we instituted the first idea that, let's tie what used to be the mutual company going public, let's let them know, let's give them some real hardcore evidence where they can invest more and do more for the community, ever more, as a public company than as a mutual company. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying every company should go public. I'm not thinking everybody, believe me, a lot of companies shouldn't go public, okay? But there are going to be the opportunities, and First Fed is a primary example of that, is when you can take what amounted to 8% of the offering and amounted to what is $5 million, and if you can perform well and handle all your responsibilities and let that foundation grow, look at what you can do. Take a look at this room now and come back here in 10 years. I'll come back in 10 years if I'm invited back, if I'm still around in 10 years, all right? And you won't be able to have this event in this building. And that's the power of leverage. That's what you can do. And when you think about it, one of the charities that they mentioned tonight was the Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Center. And we were talking here, and it was saying how as many as 500 kids had a positive effect and had really had their lives substantially changed by the fact that they were introduced to some of the perils of drugs and alcohol and how they can deal with it. All right? Well, 500 is not the right number. It's not even close to the right number. Because you think about those 500 kids, think about who they'll marry, think about their children, think about their friends, think about the contribution they'll make to their community, think about the quality of life that they will lead, okay, with or without drugs and alcohol. And that is just one of what seemed to be about 19, was that the right number? Was it 19? Well, I counted, I might have gotten it wrong. Shamish, did you count them, buddy? Okay, all right. Well, there were a lot. And I'll be willing to bet it'll be growing, not diminishing. because I don't, you know, I just feel that that's what the company is going to do, that's what the foundation is required to do, and that's what it will do. Point being, you think about the effects of those lives in that one organization, and then go down the line to the children, to the softball, all those positive contributions that they can make, all right, that the leveraging effect of charity, there is no better investment that you can ever make. Chris Quackenbush, who was my best friend, and he used to say that, you know, he said that I made a lot of money, I've lost a lot of money, and I've given a lot of money away. I've had the most satisfaction of the money I've given away. And he and Herman were so generous that they basically embarrassed me into doing things. You know, just because I was just, I'd gasp. At one point I said to Quack, I can remember saying to him, you know, you're not Bill Gates. You're a little guy working at a Wall Street firm here, you know. But just think about it. Have you ever done anything? Have you ever given anything? And have you ever not received more than that in return? Now the final thing is, because I think I'm probably threatening on the 6-minute mark here, the final leg to the stool, if you will, is confidence. And that's something that I just sort of figured out tonight watching this. It isn't so much just the leverage. It isn't so much what additionally you do, which is enormous into and of itself, okay? It's not just so much in the relationships and the quality of people that you meet, because you don't meet any bad people at the drug and alcohol center. You don't meet any bad people at the community center, building a softball field, doing something for children. There are no slouches there. I was saying it with this guy with his hockey. You know, at 5:30 in the morning when we're at the rink, there aren't many bad parents, you know, that are up there, that got up at 4:30, that trucked him over to New Jersey, and he wants to go, and as long as he wants to go and doesn't whine in the morning, we're going. But you don't really meet any, you know, think about the relationships that you can build. But the key thing that charity really does is you empower other people to be able to really go on. You give them confidence, okay? On a small, or maybe it isn't so small, what our clients did, First Federal, Lee, coming to our offices after 9/11, going to our memorial at Carnegie Hall, going to our outing, which you just saw about, saying, look, we're behind you, okay? We have confidence that you can do this, you will do this, and we're supportive of you. On a same scale, when you invest into a charity, you're basically giving those people, you're saying to them, hey, I believe in you, you know, I'm interested in this, I think you can do it, and you basically provide them. It's far more than the money. It's far more, and I never really thought about it until I watched that thing tonight. You know, the key thing to us, the key point to our survival, people say to me, you know, how'd you do it? I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a choice. You know, there wasn't a question. I wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to roll. I wasn't going to move. I was going to dig in and go as hard as I could go, and I was happy that I had the opportunity to do it, okay? But what made the difference was when I heard from families that we were involved with, that we lost, some of the 71 kids that were below the age of 18, when I talked to those mothers, talked to those wives, talked to our clients, and they said, you can do this, we're behind you. Well, you're saying the same thing and not one iota less noble when you are either giving to these charities or even doing more than that and affecting the change from within. And that's with that confidence. 6 minutes? Okay, all right. And that's with that confidence, and that's what really can do, and that's how important this is. Okay. So I just want to finish this by, you know, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm so grateful for what First Fed has done for us, for our charitable foundation. We basically became, our mantra is that we're not going to take this in a day-to-day perspective. We're not going to worry about that this reporter said something nice about me, or this family member said something nice to me. It was sort of that poem where you treat triumph and disaster as the same, the imposters that they are. We didn't have a day-to-day perspective. I said early on, we're going to look at this thing out in 15 years. In 15 years, Seamus will be in college, or CJ will be at a job or something, or my daughter will be somewhere. And they're going to meet someone from a Sandler O'Neill family who lost a mom or dad there. And what they say to Seamus, or they say to one of my other children, what they say about the job we've done and how we've acted, that's what will last. That's how I'll be judged, and that's how ultimately we're all going to be judged, is what do you do? What have you done for someone's confidence? What leverage effect has your life had? What quality of life have you led? And that's ultimately the task. I don't mean to preach. If you see Larry Belinsky, okay, regardless of what you thought about my comments, tell him it was the greatest speech that he ever heard, okay? I tried to follow Franklin Delano Roosevelt's advice about, what did he say, Seamus? Be seated, be brief and be seated, or I forgot it already. And I haven't done that, I blew that, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.